This is our July MHCA board meeting. I'd like to call to order. As a first matter on our agenda, I would like to ask if we could get the agenda approved for today. Do I hear a motion to approve the agenda?
I motion to approve the agenda.
I second.
We have a motion to approve the agenda. Everyone who agrees or assents, please raise your hand or otherwise verbally assent.
Wait, can we talk about it for a second?
Yeah, we can have time for discussion. So Larry, you're muted. Do you want to be, I guess we'll recognize Larry.
Yep. As I look at that agenda, there's a lot on there, and we have a hard break or a hard quit time at 11. I don't think we're going to be able to get to several of those items. So do we want to just leave it like it is? And, when we get to those, skip over them if we don't have time, or do we push some of them to a future meeting?
We can either amend it now, or we can table them at that time.
I'd say let's table them at that time. Just
Okay.
Any other discussion? Okay. So I'd like to call the question. The motion of approving the agenda. Everyone who agrees, please raise your hand or otherwise verbally assent. Everyone who says nay, please now raise your hand or otherwise verbally decline. Motion to approve the agenda passes. On the next bit of business, the approval of the minutes. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes circulated by Carol for I believe that was the June meeting?
I motion to approve the minutes.
Thank you, Steve. Do we have a second?
I wasn't there, so can I second?
You can still second approving the minutes.
I'll second to approve.
We have a motion to approve the minutes from the June 2025 meeting. Everyone who approves, please raise your hand or otherwise verbally assent. Anyone who wants to vote no, please raise your hand or otherwise verbally decline. The motion passes to approve the minutes from the June 2025 meeting. All right. Next matter on our agenda is the treasurer's report. So I turn things over to Kristen.
Okay, thank you. Sorry for my late email last night. I realized I didn't send that out. So there wasn't much of a change. I didn't, if you hadn't had a chance to look at it, I sent out the final report before our last meeting, just since it was the last day of the month. We did have a couple slight changes that I necessarily didn't anticipate. But so those two changes were a $20 filing fee to Laura, just to update as I notified you all of. And then also there was a $5.93 Facebook ad that came through on June 30th. So you'll see those reflected on that change. I also changed all those reports I sent out last month. I did make those changes to those as well and updated those to our Google Drive. So those are all accurate and current for end of year and end of June. I have just a few more things to note. We received $10,000 in court-ordered reimbursement. So that was for July. That is reflected in that will be reflected in the next month's meeting financial report. We're awaiting receipt of approximately $72,000 from Comerica, the close of the court case. So we still have not received that, but we should be in the near future. And then I have a couple, just once we get all the records, we just to note and put on record, we do still need to file taxes for the last fiscal year, and that we received a 6-month extension for. We've passed the 6-month extension. There's no option to submit a second extension. We're only permitted one per year. So we're just late at this point. I've done some research, and I will be drafting a letter requesting a waiver of the fees, because it's a daily amount each day that you're late. But requesting a waiver based on our situation, and we'll plan to attach the final court order. and with that, so I'll draft that soon, just so we have it. We really can't file taxes, I don't think, until we get the final order and also get all the financial information that they're going to hopefully be ordered to provide us, so we can make sure anything that was any revenue that came in under a MHCA tax ID is being reported accurately to the IRS. So once we have all that, I'll have that letter. Hopefully it won't change and we'll be able to submit it and be, I think that should be approved. The last thing I wanted to mention is I did find a resource to have QuickBooks for nonprofit at a big discount. So there's it's called TechSoup. I'm not sure if anyone's familiar with that, but there is an option to apply there for nonprofits, and they're offering $80 for the year for QuickBooks. We'd have to reapply every year, but I also proposed some maybe having a discussion about that or seeing if that's something that people would think we could approve. I would have to learn QuickBooks and get familiar with it, but I'm willing to do that as well.
Wow.
Any questions or comments on any of that? Thoughts?
Great job as always, Kristen. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Kristen, the 10,000, was that the fine that James Lundo and Sue Schaefer had to pay that was given to MHCA?
Yes. So two $5,000 checks. Those are both in our current account. I'm categorizing them as court-ordered reimbursement. I wasn't sure if anyone has any thoughts on a different category, because it's not revenue in our membership dues, right? We don't really have any other. So I just added that. So you'll see that in the new, I'll start a new report for this new fiscal year for July, and you'll see that next month reflected there.
Okay. And then I also wanted to ask, what is your recommendation about QuickBooks? I mean, it seems like things have been going really, really well, better than ever, the way you're doing it. Why would we get QuickBooks?
So my thought is just as we grow or expand, or when we have this additional revenue, we might decide different things to use it for. So it could get bigger at some point if we decide to hire someone or contract things out. And I think QuickBooks could be a system, if we get it up and going now, it could be something that would just simplify for the future. We haven't needed it because we've had such simple accounting. It really wouldn't have saved much time, as it hasn't taken much time. So it's really just more kind of future thinking. The only other, the time that it would save, those reports that I'm providing that are, they're pretty simple. Again, it's because we don't have a lot of numbers, but those would be automatic through QuickBooks. So it would just be automating some of it more. Again, those aren't taking a lot of my time, but they would just be like click of a button. All the data would be in there. It would kind of pull stuff from our bank account based on how we categorize it. So instead of the manual entry that I'm doing now, which, like I said, isn't much because there's very few transactions, but it's just more, I guess, moving forward, streamlines things, makes things simplified. And as we grow, it just make it easier.
Thank you.
And I think also, because I've used QuickBooks in the past, it standardizes things. So it might even be able to link with Neon. So when the deposits are in, it automatically records them. And when you can use it like a checkbook, so it puts things in the categories automatically. So it has some things, as Kristen said, as you have more items, it makes it a lot more streamlined.
So one thing I can say from personal use is that it I don't know if it'll link with Neon, but it'll definitely link with our bank account and automatically log and basically account for all expenditures and incomes. We might have to code it and teach it some rules basically, but after that, it pretty much does most of it by itself, and we just have to go through and confirm things. And it also is. The one advantage of it might be that that's where our records are. It's all in one place. So as we also plan for transitions into new leadership, it'll just be there, right? We won't have to transfer a bunch of files or necessarily teach the next person as much about how Kristen's been doing it. So there are a couple advantages there that may be worth the $80 a year.
For comparison, that same plan, professional plan, if we were to pay it without this discount, it runs $90 a month. So that would not, in my opinion, wouldn't have been worth it, but this is a substantial discount.
All right, Kristen, anything else in the treasurer's report?
That's it.
Okay. So
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
thank you. Jane and Martin, thank you for joining us today from Acuitas.
Morning.
Hey,
Morning.
so we were just kind of wrapping up the treasurer's report, so good timing. If we can pass things over to you for our legislative report.
Okay. Not a ton going on. The House and Senate have been out. They're out next week. Martin, is the Senate in next week, or are they both out?
Senate is tentatively scheduled for the 29th, next Tuesday. Whether that
Okay,
will
right, that's right.
take place, I don't think so.
So not a lot going on. A lot of infighting between, So as far as you guys, we're still waiting on the LLPC bill. It's with LSB. They're still drafting it. It's taking a while. All the bills are taking a while. I'm waiting for several. So we don't have a bill number yet, but once we do, it'll get through pretty easily. I'm not really too concerned about it. The compact legislation, it's still like on hold. I mean, everything is really. But yeah, if you guys have any questions about that, let me know. It's, like they said, it's gonna be a slow moving process. I mean, I don't even know when the next like health policy committee is even scheduled. There's not one.
I know that.
Yeah. So, yeah. Am I forgetting something?
I have a few things if you don't mind.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, Jane hit on some of the policy stuff that we're watching for you guys. LSB is backed up. We've heard that from a number of stakeholders and legislative offices. They've been backed up really since the beginning of the year. I think part of it has to do with staffing. I don't know necessarily for sure, but we've heard some staffing items there. But also, the number of requests are coming in is pretty large. It's ironic because only 6 PAs have been signed this year, but there is a massive backlog of legislation that's running through different chambers. I kind of compare it to at some point during this legislative session, the theoretical dam will break. And the chambers will kind of open up. Bills will start moving across chambers, second chamber bills. There will be a lot of trading of PAs and deciding, okay, the Senate's going to take this PA, the House will get this PA, kind of a PA swap. We saw the House in session yesterday. They were there. The Senate was not. There was a couple bills that were voted on yesterday, and for all intents and purposes, it was a bit hectic. They put up a bill on the floor for a vote, and it ended up failing. It was the cell phones in school bill. It's definitely political why it failed. My read from the political standpoint is that Republicans lost at least a member. I believe a member or two weren't at session. There's some things going on behind the scenes that I'm obviously not super aware of, but they were down numbers. And so the Democrats in the House didn't put up numbers for the votes to move it. They needed 56. The Democrats weren't going to give out votes for that. And so the bill failed. There were some repercussions in terms of how that played out. So the minority vice chair of the Appropriations Committee, Representative Alabas Farhat, was stripped from his title as minority vice chair of Appropriations. So we're starting to see a lot of that politicking take place. And this is, I would say, all due in part to the tensions around the budget negotiations. We've seen the governor very firmly say this week that she's not signing a budget unless there's a roads deal. We know that the roads deal is in the works, the budget is being worked on, but at this point, it's a game of votes. And I believe the speaker needs votes from the other caucus. And so there's a lot of give and take there. We are quickly approaching the September 30th looming deadline for a government shutdown. I have never been a part of a government shutdown in my career. There's probably very few people in Lansing that have, but it's something that's going to turn up the temperature in Lansing as we roll into August and into September. Um, that being said, they understand the political ramifications of that, and I know that they want a deal done, and it seems like everyone's willing to. It's just really coming to the table and figuring out what needs to be a part of that deal. So, yeah, we're starting to see a typical summer. The legislature is not necessarily around like they usually are. Um, this week, like I said, they were in today. They were tentatively scheduled for Tuesday next week. That is now not happening. There is no session scheduled the first week in August. We're kind of reaching that conference season where a lot of members are jumping around to NCSL and CSG and other like conferences. Some of them are specific towards issue areas, whether it be insurance, tax, all sorts of stuff. So that plays into this, but it's a typical summer, but it's very atypical in the sense that we're still doing the budget items. The budget process is a little bit different this year, not something we're necessarily working for you guys, but we're paying attention to that on top of what's happening at the federal level. I think that's thrown this a little bit longer than usual. Where are cuts happening? What does that mean for the state? Where do we have to reallocate funds? And then obviously the looming $3 billion that would go into the road funding. Where is that going to come from? Is it cuts? Is it taxes? What, is it the marijuana industry? Where they're looking at all sorts of areas for that. So I think that plays into some of the stuff why we're waiting on the LSB language, the bill numbers, but there's stuff like that we know members want to move. Members are moving good policy priorities right now. They're not getting through the finish line at this point. But I think my summary is that at some point the dam will break and legislation will start flowing. Whether that's before the budget, I don't believe so, but we have that September 30 deadline.
We are still, we're watching that, in the school aid budget, the mental health funding, those letters went out, signed by you, Chris. So I sent that out and then I sent that over to you guys. Feel free, all the members can send it to their legislator. I think like when we have this time that we don't know what's going on, that's like kind of our goal is to help you guys keep pushing forward and getting your name out there with stuff that you support and stuff that you don't. So, like Martin said, it's a little crazy, but we are also, our firm is working on something for clients, just a guide to like a potential government, like what that would look like for Michigan. We're working on something like that. We'll send it out to everybody. I mean, let's hope we don't get there, but I know that we talked about putting something out like to all of our clients, just as a guide and like what happens and like technical, like just so
Central.
yeah. So we'll get that over to you too at some point shortly. But yeah, do you guys have any questions?
Is this part of yours, Jane? But we have a new board member, correct?
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh. How did I forget? Yeah, our recommendation or your recommendation, Jessica Bonneville was chosen. She was appointed to the Board of Counseling. So, I don't know like how that works if like she just comes in one day or like
Archie's office should be kind of running the
Yeah,
point on that,
okay.
the appointment office.
But that's super good for you guys. So you've got somebody on the board. I thought that they were just ignoring my emails, but I guess they liked our recommendation.
Persistent.
Yes, I was very persistent. There's a paper trail.
Mhm.
But yeah, wow, how did I forget that? Thank you, Larry.
Well, now we just
Um,
have to work on the one for Stephanie. So
Yes.
about the person who's an educator.
Yes, yes.
Well, and do we have any idea whether they are going to end up nominating Sherry Pickover, or reappointing Sherry Pickover? Because I know that she was interested, and it was confusing that she wasn't reappointed yet. I don't know if that's just them lagging behind or what. So if
I
we can
would
find
have
out
to-
anything about
I
that.
would have to look into that. I can look into that.
Okay. But yeah, so that's a wonderful thing that we were able to get accomplished. And I know Jess is very excited about the opportunity. It's been something that she's been very interested in for a very long time.
Oh, good, good.
Um, a couple things that I had quick questions on, and then I don't want to keep you for too long. Is and if we can just keep on watch for anything in regards to the AI bills, because I think that's going
Yeah.
to be important. And see if we can, in this lull where not a lot is happening, if we can see if about connecting with some legislators who might be interested, because if they're not getting a lot of other stuff done, maybe they would be interested in kind of discussing that.
Yeah. No, that's great. I have a couple ideas of who we could meet with. I'll brainstorm that. But yeah, that's a
And
good idea. And we did find a bill we liked. I think
yeah,
it was
Illinois.
Illinois. Yeah. Yeah. I have it right over here. Um
And if you want to set up a time where any board member who's interested and the two of you or one of you could sit down and identify the particular things that
yeah.
we want to make sure are in there. I don't think it would take too long. I would hope not, but I could be wrong on that.
Okay.
Might be a good thing before we take it to legislators, but I think that that's
Yeah.
definitely a very good blueprint.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, you can go through that. I'll go through that. We'll schedule a time to do that for sure. Whoever
Cool.
is interested. I'll just I'll send something out to like all of us. Um, and then whoever wants to join, does that work?
Yeah,
Maybe like sometime next week, or we could use our meeting slot to talk about that if you'd like.
we could. Yeah,
Or
especially if there's not a lot else going on.
there's not. I mean, we already have that
I'll
slot.
be
We
in.
can dedicate it to that, and that'll give, um, we can kind of, I'll do like a deep dive and then we can go over it at that time.
Yeah.
If that works.
The other thing if I can put on your plate is, we're getting a lot of questions about this Michigan mental health framework and the changes with Medicaid and
Mm.
how they are doing payers. There's been a lot of complaints about people who are familiar with the two instruments that they're asking us to use, that basically they're crud. Um, but if we can get any more information and guidance from MDHHS about how this is supposed to work and how,
What is supposed to work? Would you mind backing up? Like,
yeah, let me just send
yeah, send me,
in chat real quick. I'll send you a link about this. So this must have gone through a while back, but it's basically, I don't know, do you remember the thing that we talked about with Meridian last year, where it seemed like they were trying to get out of paying for things and bumping most mental health care
I
to
don't remember that because that was before me.
so let's sit down. Sorry about that. I
It's
forgot that.
okay.
Let's sit down and basically go over this. Then if we can set up a time pretty soon to go over this, just
Yeah.
because the deadline on it is
Okay.
looming.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, let me look through this. Yeah, beginning in October 2025. Okay, I will look into this, and then there's obviously going to be another component with it being so heavily Medicaid involved with
Yeah.
potential changes.
And Carol
So,
has reached out to MDHHS as well. So we're waiting to hear back from them.
okay.
Let me know how I can support in this too. I work with MDHHS quite a bit through the rec therapy side of things with the
Okay.
PIHPs and CMHSPs and all that.
Okay.
You might be our expert on PIHPs then, because I don't know a lot of other people who deal with them in my line. Larry, did you want to say something?
Well, I just returning back to the AI thing. I just read this morning in an AI newsletter that I get daily that there's been some new information about AI with therapy. So I'll try and track that down. Basically that it doesn't work, and that it actually makes serious conditions worse. So So there may be some natural holds, because even the AI companies are pausing a lot of that stuff and delaying it. So it may not be as urgent an issue as we thought.
Okay. All right, well, we will get two separate calls going then, one for AI and one for the mental health framework. I'm
Sounds good.
going to do a deep dive into that, just so I can familiarize myself a little bit. But thank you for bringing that up.
Jane,
Sorry.
you might want to hold off a day or two, a couple days on calling DHS and just see what I find out. Because I'm sure I'll get a call back today or Monday.
Oh yeah, let me know. I'm just gonna look into, the whole, because I wasn't, when you guys were going through this, that was before I had you guys, that was last year. So I am going to familiarize myself with this. And then Carol, let me know if you hear back from them. If not, I can reach out next week. Does that work?
Sounds good.
Okay, perfect.
All right. Thank you guys.
Yeah, you're welcome. I hope everyone has a good weekend.
Thanks, Jane. Thanks,
You're
Martin.
You, everyone.
Bye.
Take care.
You too.
All right. I will be brief with my report. So basically the two things that I wanted to mention is I had a really good discussion with Dwayne from NASW in our last meeting. Dana, who was their previous legislative contact point, who was wonderful, has left. And so now I'm kind of interfacing more directly with Dwayne. He did offer us a spot. They're doing an Upper Peninsula Behavioral Health Summit on October 10th. And they asked if we wanted to partner with them on that. And I reached out to people, and Lori, volunteered pretty happily to go up there on our behalf. If anyone else is interested, just let me know and I can get you in contact with Dwayne. Carol? Okay. I might go too. I'm looking at it. It's usually time I take off from seeing clients. So, and it should be beautiful up there that time of year. But Dwayne seemed very, very interested in having a strong partnership with us and kind of having a reciprocal support because we work towards so many of the same things. So I think that that's still going very well. Also briefly interfaced with Napoleon Harrington over email after the election results court order was sent out, basically asking for hey, so now you see that we are indeed the people who won the election. Can you send us any agreements between MHCA and AMCA that have been established, because we're trying to rebuild our records and make sure that our secretary has all the agreements that MHCA is party to, as well as requesting a copy of their bylaws. Napoleon did get back to me after a week or so and said that they're going to review the court order at their next board meeting, and then they'll get us agreements between AMCA and MHCA as they exist. He had said that they're about to pass new bylaws, so it seemed like he wanted to wait until they had to send us a copy of them. So we're kind of on the wait and see in terms of that. So yeah, just wanted to keep everyone informed about that. Any questions on that stuff? Amy?
Just a quick, I got ahead of myself last time and misspoke when I said Napoleon was president of AMCA. He's actually on the board for the American Mental Health Counselors Association, in addition to serving on the Michigan Board of Counseling. So still congratulations to Napoleon and gratitude for his positive energy, because he just continually represents us well. And I first met Napoleon when he was president of this MHCA, and I just really appreciate his strong leadership in our field.
Wonderful. So I'll again, I'm keeping it short, so I will cut myself off there. Moving on to new business, and I would say that Larry was very wise to say that our agenda was too packed today. In terms of the Counseling Compact, we do need to kind of come to some sort of final stance for the organization, but as that is going to be, I think, a larger discussion, maybe we table that and set that to be a discussion offline, through anybody who's interested. If so, I would like to schedule that for this next week, if at all possible, just so that we are moving on it and can, resolve whatever discussions there are before our next meeting. Is that agreeable to folks? Okay.
Did the survey go out to everybody? The survey
Yes.
okay.
And we did receive results, and in those discussions we can go over those too. If we're gonna do it that way.
But it went out to members as well.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Are you talking, Amy, are you talking about the survey that we sent out several
The
weeks
one
ago?
that you compiled of
Yeah,
the
that's
attitudes and beliefs about
Yeah,
the counseling compact. Did that go
Yeah.
out to everybody?
Yeah, that went out to all 12,000 and the members.
Okay, great. Thanks,
And so
Larry.
the report I sent you guys about a week ago is the final. There's been
Okay.
nothing new since then. That's the complete 700 comments and all there. So it's all there.
Yeah, thank you so much, Larry. That was great.
And I don't believe we have to approve the treasurer's report, Carol, just as I saw your question, chat. So yeah, do we want to table the counseling compact to have discussions during the week? If so, do we have a motion for that?
Yeah, I'll motion to move it to reschedule for later this week or next week.
A second.
So we have a motion to table the counseling compact discussion to a later scheduled meeting on next week, which we will schedule once we get out of this meeting. Everyone who agrees, please raise your hand or otherwise verbally assent. Anyone who disagrees, please, or votes no, please raise your hand or otherwise verbally decline. The motion table the council compact discussion to a meeting that we have scheduled for next week passes.
May I just ask who's going to coordinate that? My schedule's really busy, so I don't know if I'll be able to be there, but I know all of our schedules are busy. So I'm just wondering who's going to take the lead on.
I was planning on sending an email out right after the Michigan Mental Health Coalition meeting today.
Okay, thanks.
Well, actually, do you want me to do it so, I can send out that link with all the days and times and then we can vote? I think that's a lot easier than trying to do it over email.
Sure,
Yes.
that's fine, Stephanie. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephanie.
All right. Next thing is post-court actions. And this is something that we talked a little bit about prior to the meeting and an email exchange. Just needing to make a list of all of the people that we need to alert once the final court order comes out. So such as the IRS, different vendors, Neon, getting things unlocked at that point in time. But strategizing for any other things that we have to do as a result of the end of the court case. Carol, if you can take fine notes during this part, just so we make sure that everyone's ideas get recorded. Are there anything that people can think of off the top of their heads as actions we need to make sure that get handled after that? As a first bit, I would say unlocking our various vendor accounts and the people who have frozen us out due to the lawsuit and presenting them with the order would be kind of the first thing. Do we have a list of those?
I only know of Neon, and I think was it Constant Contact initially, but I'm not sure we want to revisit that.
I mean, we could at least have it unlocked, even if we're not going to use it. We can just close it because I know that was kind of the intent the whole time with for the last several years for Constant Contact, just so it's not kind of hanging out there in limbo.
No, we've got to do whichever website with his GoDaddy or whatever is holding the old web address.
Yeah.
We have to do something with that too.
Well, and I don't know if the old web address is frozen in the same way. I think that might be something that they're going to pass over to us as part of that. No, they ended the account rather than just unpublish the website.
And we
They're
don't know.
still holding on to it. So we need to be able to send court order things to GoDaddy to
Well,
get it.
and that should also be part of the final court order in handing over materials and resources of the organization. So if they don't do that, then we would have that to do that. Okay. We've already done Laura. We'll have to do the IRS. Any other organizations or things that we have to follow up on and kind of letting people know?
I would think that we need to do some sort of formal announcement, document that goes out to all counselors in the state that says this is the final. Because I think that's critical and hasn't been done, so it's all by word of mouth at this point. And I think we need to do that finally. Maybe even also goes out to other professional organizations around the state, whether that be MCA or other mental health organizations or McBAP or those types of things. I think we need to have a formal announcement that says that in a very professional way.
Larry, when you say announcement, are you talking about like sort of describing a little bit what happened and how it ended?
I'm not exactly sure. Maybe a one-page type thing saying that, there was this situation where there was a dispute. This is how it was resolved. This organization with these board members is now the official organization as determined by the courts. And if anyone else claims to be this organization, they are not, or whatever.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be defamatory to other people, but it needs to be very clear, I think.
I agree.
And for that, I would probably keep the back and forth of what happened or the core of the issue at a minimum and really focus more on where it stands now. But yeah, and I think that'll also be important because other people have a lot of name recognition and association with this organization, and other people might assume their association continues. That's how I would put that. And that would go a long way to addressing that. Is there someone who could put together a list of parties to send that sort of one page or two?
Well, I think we're talking about sending it to, oh, you mean more than just the 12,000 and our members?
He had talked about, Larry had mentioned professional associations and other stakeholders as well. So we need to create a list of that if that's what we're going to do, because to let the broader professional community know that the issues are resolved.
I might say a place to start will be the meeting that we're going to after this one, Chris, with the other mental health groups. And we could start with that. Maybe not send it to all of them, but that would be a good place to start, which would be NASW and MPA and a number of other groups like that. Just again, not derogatory, just with here's the final outcome and here's the current board, so that people know the appropriate people, so that we don't get the same thing that's happened in the past where people are misrepresenting themselves.
Okay, so we can start with that. I guess offline we can kind of continue to decide who all we send that off to. If anyone has any thoughts about that, please let me know, or just send it to everybody. Obviously, you don't have to just send it to me. And we can begin to get that ready. We're currently waiting for the final resolution after they're ironing out one point, and hopefully it will come to an end soon, but you can never say with this, it seems. So we're still waiting on the final court order, just as a status update to everyone else. If anyone has any questions on that, I'm happy to answer them offline. Any other discussion for the post-court actions? Okay. Board operations training. Larry had found an organization that does board member training for small nonprofits. And I think it would be a good thing to consider investing in. Larry, did you send out the information about that organization to everyone, or was that in a smaller email exchange?
I think that was just to the officers.
Okay.
I can do a 1 minute overview. It's a place called Nonprofit Network in Michigan. They are a nonprofit that organizes nonprofits. And they do all types of training. They offer resources, consulting resources for nonprofits, bylaws reviews, all types of things. And we as a nonprofit with our size income, what was it, Kristen? We can be an annual member for like $80 a year. And we get access to all types of board training. They'll do board, pardon me?
For some reason, 70 is coming to mind.
Okay,
but
so
that's
it was
close
somewhere,
ballpark. Yeah.
somewhere in that range, 70 to 80, yeah, whatever. But and they have individual training for board members that we can get reduced rates on, and they'll, like I said, they'll review things for us. It's a good group. I know other people who have used it, other organizations who have used it, other people from other boards, and said it was very good. And they'll do a board training for us, I think, for free or very, very low amount. So I would suggest that we as an organization, put forth that small amount of money and join that, and then coordinate with them to set up a board training. They can do it also virtually, so they have a lot of capabilities to do things. One of the people who really highly endorsed them was Jeremy Norwood. He was on at least one other board where they used them, and it was very valuable.
Okay, I mean, if someone would like, they can put forward a motion to authorize the expenditure of an amount of funds to join that, to get that rolling. Maybe since we're unclear, maybe authorize up to $100 for the annual fee, and then that way, if any of us were wrong, we can that'll be fine.
Just a quick comment. I love that idea. I think it's essential. I think it's very important. I love hearing that this board is talking about doing that. We need to make sure that we run a board effectively. Given everything that's happened, it's good to just reinforce that we're doing training. I very much agree with this. And then Kristen, I saw you had your hand. Otherwise, I would move to vote.
Kristen?
I was just going to propose the motion to move to
Then,
vote.
then I propose a motion to reserve $100 to pay for up to $100 for this type of training or motion to do that.
I second.
So we have a motion, just to clarify, a motion to authorize the expenditure of up to $100 currently on an annual basis for joining, what was the name of it, Larry?
Nonprofit Network.
The nonprofit network to give us access to trainings as well as assist us in the operations of MMHCA.
Thank you.
And I'll send everyone, Steve, for you folks, I've really a link to the organization so you can see it yourself, because you might want to use it in the other organizations that you're part of.
Can I just
Well-
clarify before we move to vote? I'm just looking at your email from that, Larry. It is $70 annually. And I know you've already noted this, just to clarify this, though, it's not everything is free. There's just reduced rates and for the services that we would use through them. So it's the membership fee, and then we would choose and we'd approve additional expenses based on what we decide would be best for us. Okay.
And Kristen, if I remember right, the fees for their other services are not exorbitant. They're like, $50 and $75 and things like that. So it's not expensive.
Yeah.
And so as part of the discussion, maybe we also look over what services they offer as part of the that we've unlocked or gotten cheaper through the membership, and come up with a list of things that we would be interested in or we would find advantageous for the group before our next meeting. And then we can see about authorizing more funds for that at that point. Any other discussion?
Participation in the programming, would that be for board members specifically, or would that be open to MMHCA members?
I think at this time it would be focusing on board members specifically. We can see about, whether they even would agree to provide trainings or some such for members based on our membership. That might be something that we have to work out with them as an organization.
Okay, thanks.
there's no other discussion, I can call the vote. All those who wish to vote yes on the motion to authorize $70 to get a membership to the nonprofit network, so that we can continue to investigate the programming and training necessary, please raise your hand or otherwise verbally assent. All those who decline or would like to vote no, please raise your hand or otherwise verbally decline. The motion passes. Okay.
Carol, do we have quorum with Liz being gone?
Yes, because we still have 7.
Can I'm not sure if this is the right spot for us, but going back to the QuickBooks, do we want to put a motion forward for that now, or do you want to table that and have more discussion, make a decision at a later date about QuickBooks?
I mean, we can make a motion about it today if we feel like it's something we need to move on today. If someone, Larry?
I would make a motion that we give Kristen the authority to look into, and if she deems it appropriate, get the annual membership for QuickBooks.
I second that.
So we have a motion to authorize Kristen to investigate the annual membership through TechSoup at the reduced rate of $80 or $90. Was it 80 or 90?
80.
$80 per year for QuickBooks Professional, and to move forward on that if she deems it necessary. All those who wish, is there any discussion on that we'd like to have?
Just a comment that I think it's appropriate to do that. I think that you're the one putting a lot of energy and understanding this and teaching the group of what's relevant here. And I think that as a board, it's to me I feel very comfortable with that. So if anybody, in my mind, I'm thinking of challenging that thought, but I feel like that's the right decision, and that's part of the role that you play within the board. And I'm so grateful that you're doing so we can make the best decisions for the group, and then the board can focus on things that the board needs to focus on as a group. So thanks for doing your thing. Those are my
Agreed.
comments.
Yeah, thanks, Steve. Agreed.
Yep.
There's no more discussion. I'll call the vote on the motion to authorize Kristen to investigate the use of QuickBooks Professional on an annual membership basis through TechSoup at the reduced rate of $80, and to move forward on that if she deems it necessary. All those who wish to vote yes, please raise your hand or otherwise verbally assent. All those who would like to vote no, please raise your hand or otherwise verbally decline. The motion passes. All right, we move on to old business. So bylaws. We've done some commentary and discussion on it on the Google Drive. There hasn't been a ton of people in that. So one thing I would like to do is set up a bylaws committee or work group. Maybe 3 or 4 people, if people who are, it can be more, but it's been 4 people who have really kind of chimed in to spend a few hours this month to get those prepared. And then that way once they are prepared and done with, we can send them off to the lawyer to get them kind of finalized and the wording made sure it's compliant, so that we can hopefully present at next month's meeting. So in terms of that, I guess I'll put forward the motion of creation of a bylaws committee to finalize the bylaws over the next month, to get them ready for presentation to the full board. And membership would be voluntary. But the purpose would be to meet, I'll cut myself off because I'm in the middle of the motion. So to restate that, the motion to create a bylaws committee for the purpose of finalizing the bylaws draft to have it ready for presentation to the board at the next board meeting. Discussion? Oh, it's second. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Carol seconds. Do we have discussion? Larry?
Yeah, I think that we ought to try and decide who's gonna be on that right now. I'd be glad to help out with it. And I'd like to maybe have that in the motion so that we have it really defined and it's not fuzzy when we leave today.
Yep.
But that's just my feeling. But I'd be glad to be on it to help out with it.
The only reason I wouldn't want to finalize it in the motion itself is because we have several people who aren't here who may want to be part of it as well. But, you know, your participation is definitely welcome.
I'll be on it as well.
I would love to be as well.
Stephanie? You're still muted.
Still muted.
Okay, I think, did I hit the, oh, right, sweet, okay, I figured, I keep hitting the space bar, but okay. Yeah, I'd like to be on it.
So I think we can move forward with that number for now. I think that's good. I do want to probably meet once a week, for a couple hours, to go over each week, for probably the next 2 or 3. Most of it is set, but I think there's a few questions that just need, and wordings that need to be clarified. Is there any other discussion on that?
Let me make a comment. This is for Steve and Stephanie. The document that's there so far, Chris can link you to. There's a lot of comment. I've made a lot of comments on it about small things. So my suggestion would be go in there and read through all that's there, and you'll get a good sense of where it's at. We can also probably supply you with the old bylaws if you don't have them, the previous bylaws that we were operating under, so you can see those at the same time. Anything else you'd add, Carol and Chris, because you guys have been the most on there too.
No, I think I like what you said, Larry. I just wanted to know that it's 10:56 and we have the 11 o'clock meeting. If we could get off just a couple minutes early.
So, okay, is there any other discussion then? I move to amend the previous motion to now motioning to create a bylaws committee for the purposes of getting the bylaws ready for final presentation to the board at the August 2025 board meeting. The members of the committee will be Chris DeBoer, Dr. Larry Pfaff, Carol Berger, Dr. Stephanie Burns, and Steve Wheeler.
I second the motion.
Call the vote if there's no other discussion. Everyone who agrees with that motion, please raise your hand or otherwise verbally assent. Everyone who wishes to vote no, please raise your hand or otherwise verbally decline. The motion passes. And I motion to table the issue of other committees from this meeting, and we'll review it in the August 2025 meeting. Do I have a second?
I second.
All right. Any discussion? Call the vote on the motion to table the issue of committees until the August 2025 meeting. Everyone who agrees, please raise your hand, otherwise verbally assent. Everyone who votes no, please raise your hand or otherwise verbally decline. The motion passes. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I motion to
Motion.
adjourn.
A second.
Calling the vote on the motion to adjourn, everyone who agrees, please raise your hand or otherwise verbally assent. Everyone who votes no to adjourn, please raise your hand or otherwise verbally decline. Meeting is adjourned.